so stoked that you could join me today. And this is Pet Doc Donna, and we are doing a positive revolution. That is, we're coming up with all of these ways that your pets can have longer lives and your pets can be less sick. And then you can even come up with herbal and holistic suggestions or things for your pet's health. So that's why we have Dr. Kim on today. And Dr. Kim Schmidt is the president-elect, make sure I get this right, of the VBMA. And the VBMA is one of my favorite organizations. If there's any vets out there that are like, where do I start with all this holistic stuff? You know, because it's like homeopathy training, Chinese herbal training, acupuncture training, chiropractic training, osteopathic training, I mean, Tuina, la, 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 it's all this stuff. But I think a great place to start is with the VBMA because it gives you just basic herbal information. And there's so many cases where herbs can be so effective for pets. So Dr. Kim's here to share her top 5 herbs for dogs and cats. And let's go ahead. And is there anything I'd love you to say a few things about yourself. You have such an interesting background.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you for having me, Donna. I'm so happy to be here.
Anytime.
So I'm a veterinarian. I live in Napa, California, and I live on a little farm. It's a 2-acre fruit and vegetable farm with my family, my husband and my 2 kids. And I have a lot of different pets at my house. Well, currently I have a dog, a bunny, a goldfish, a bearded dragon, ducks, and chickens. So I have a lot of
Wow.
pets.
Wow. That is a lot. That's like a whole
It is.
zoo over there. Petting
I know,
zoo.
I know. Inside and outside pets for sure.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, so my background, my parents actually were both veterinarians. And so I grew up working in their veterinary clinic and learning from them, my entire childhood. And so I had a lot of experience when I went to vet school.
I mean, so many children of veterinarians don't become veterinarians. I don't know. It's not very common for the children to become veterinarians. So that means your parents must have given you a good, feeling for the profession.
I think they did, yeah. And I explored other options, but I never really wanted to do anything else. And I loved animals. So it was the perfect fit for me. But also, I definitely went in a different direction than them because they were very traditional, Western-minded veterinarians. And so I kind of, went the holistic path, which is a little bit different. So made my own path in a way, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so tell us so did you go to Davis or what vet school did you go to?
No, I'm from Chicago, so I went to the University of Illinois.
Okay,
And I went there
okay.
for undergrad and for vet school. And then after vet school, I ended up moving to California and settled there. So, and
And
then I
what
opened,
California from Chicago, although I can think of 1,000 reasons.
I mean, so many reasons. The weather mostly, the
Okay.
sun, I think was
Yeah.
the main reason. And my family and I were very outdoorsy. So I love hiking and, kayaking and just being outside and the mountains. And so California's the beach, spoke to all the things that I love. So.
Oh, that's pretty great. So you're going to talk to us. So how much of your practice is herbal? Like when we're going to talk about herbs today, but like when you approach a new case, are herbs at the forefront, or do you think, okay, I got to do acupuncture? Like, how do you examine a case herbally or with holistic medicine?
Yeah, so I own my own holistic practice in Napa. It's a house call practice. And I also do telemedicine for people who are outside of Napa. And I have another veterinarian working for me as well. And so we do all sorts of things at the practice. We do acupuncture, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, um, chiropractic rehab, all that stuff. But for me, primarily, I focus on acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, and so I always include herbs in my cases. I have a graduate diploma in Western herbal medicine through the College of Integrative Veterinary Therapies. So I use a lot of Western herbs and a lot of Chinese herbs, and I sort of like meld them together for my patients. But every patient that I see gets herbs usually.
That's tremendous. And are you making your own formulas? Are you buying formulas for them? Are you scripting them out? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so a little bit of everything. For Chinese formulas, I mostly use pre-made formulas, and then I'll send them to people, ship them to people. But for the Western herbs, I do sometimes have people buy pre-made formulas from a couple different companies that I like, if
Mm.
that formula seems to work well for that pet. But if the pet has a lot of different conditions and I'm wanting to address a lot of different things, then a lot of times I'll blend my own formula of Western herbs for them. So I do that too.
That's super cool. Are there certain companies that you like to use?
Yeah,
Or there's
so
yeah.
for Chinese herbs, I use Jingtang Herbal and Kan Herbs pretty exclusively. They're my two favorites. Um, but mostly today I'll talk about Western herbs. For Western herbs, I usually will get from Herbalist and Alchemist um,
Okay. So
for my
using tincture.
tinctures because
Okay.
their quality is amazing. But there's a couple other companies I use. So I use MediHerb a lot, and then I'll use professional formulas sometimes. And then if I'm buying like bulk herbs to make teas or things like that, I'll use Mountain Rose Herbs or Star West Botanicals usually.
Okay. That's all excellent information. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's get started with it. What do you think? Are we going to talk about dogs first or cats first?
I think we should just talk about dogs first.
Okay, let's do the dogs. Yay! Okay, so let's talk about dogs first, and let's go with your top five herbs, which you think are the most effective. And it's so hard to pick. This is kind of a silly thing, but I love silly things, so let's see what you come up with.
You know, it was really hard for me to pick, Donna, because there's so many that
Oh,
I use. It was challenging.
yeah.
But so I'll just tell you all five, and then I'll kind of go into detail on them, I guess. So calendula is number one. Not in the order that I like them the most, but actually calendula is probably my favorite herb. Chamomile is number two, and then marshmallow root is number three, and boswellia is number four, and then ashwagandha is number five.
Oh, I love that list. So you're combining the Ayurvedic with the Western. So that's cool. So yeah, let's break it down. And I want to tell people I have herbal videos on my YouTube channel on calendula and on marshmallow root where I harvest the plant and you get to know it right in the garden. I have one on ashwagandha, but it's we did that one in India, but anyway, I don't know if that one got public or not, but having the knowledge of like where the herb grows and all of that is super cool too. But yeah, let's get started. You want to talk about calendula first?
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about calendula first. I love this herb so much. I actually grow it on my farm. It was growing on my farm when I moved there, wild. So I've harvested the seeds and then like replanted it over the years in bigger patches, and I dry it and use it for my family and for myself. And so I just absolutely love it. And the reason I picked these five herbs too is because they do so many different things. And that's what I love about them is because you can use them for so many different conditions and they work on so many different organ systems. And so that's kind of why I chose these five. But
Great.
calendula in particular, I think, of course, everybody who knows calendula knows of it as being a wound healing plant. And so that is one of its major purposes.
Like stays
And
on the outside of your skin or up vulnerary use.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So both outside and inside, I think too, because you can take it internally if you have like stomach ulcers or irritation in your intestines. You can, take the tea or the tincture or even put the flowers into salads. And so it's great for healing the inside and the outside, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll use it. The topical is I use it a ton topically for dogs. So if they have any sort of wounds, hot spots, anything like that, I'll be using calendula. And I'll usually have people make a tea and do like warm compresses and apply it topically a couple times a day. And I can talk about, I don't know if you want me to talk about like how to make a tea or how to dose it. I mean, I'm happy to do that if you want me to.
Yeah, like if you're using it and doing an infusion or they have to like cook the plant. Yeah, maybe just a quick little like cook it, like boil it with how much water, like a little, yeah, maybe. I think it's good to tell
Okay.
people how you.
Yeah, I feel like so many people talk about herbs and they don't talk about how to use them, and so then you're left with like, well, what do I do with it?
Yeah, I've got the flour. It's like, oh.
Yeah, and some of these like really safe herbs, calendula is a very safe herb. Like it would be safe to use at home, especially topically, I think. So if you're gonna make a tea, and you can get calendula tea bags, on Amazon or a health food store. And I usually use 2 tea bags per 8 ounces of boiling water. And then you can also get the loose leaf flowers from, like Mountain Rose Herbs or Star West Botanicals, and it comes with in a big bag of flowers. And so if you're going to do that, I use like anywhere between 2 teaspoons and a tablespoon per 8 ounces of boiling water. And then I tell people it's really important to cover it and let it sit. So you don't want to boil the flowers with the water, but you want the water to be boiling, and then you pour it on top of the flowers, and then you cover it, and that keeps all the essential oils in, and you let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. So you want it to sit for a long time. That makes it medicinal. So not like a tea you would drink where you'd steep it for a couple minutes. You want to do it for 15 to 20 minutes, and then just cool it down or strain it. Obviously, take the flowers out, and you can use one of those like little tea strainers, or pour it through a strainer or something like that. And then you just want to cool it before you apply it topically, so it's not like super hot. And I tell people they can leave it in the fridge for up to 48 hours, and then you just want to make new tea.
Okay, that's perfect. No, it's great and then when you apply it, are you doing it with like a cotton ball, or are you doing it with just like the flowers, or how do you,
Yeah, I
what's
mean,
your,
so usually I don't have people use the flowers. I mean, you could as like a compress, you could, but if you're straining them out and just using the tea, like just for ease, I'll have people use like like a clean washcloth or a clean paper towel. If the wound is really small, you could use like a cotton ball or something like that. But if it's the hot spot, it's bigger, then you'd want to use like paper towels or a washcloth or something, and then you can just lay it over the wound. And you do it for
okay,
like 5 to 10 minutes a couple times a day.
mhm. So you use it externally on skin, and you mentioned using it internally. When would you do that for the dogs? What would be your like indication? You mentioned ulcers.
Yeah, I mean, and for the tea too, I also use it like on the gum tissue. So if there's any sort of like gingivitis, so inflammation of the gums or ulceration in the mouth or wounds in the mouth, you can pull some up in a little syringe and just syringe it into the mouth and use it as a kind of like a mouthwash. And it can be
Yeah.
really helpful for that. And then internally, I'll use it for any sort of digestive issues, but like particularly digestive infections, maybe a dysbiosis, like if there's bad bacteria growing in the gut, because it is antibacterial and antifungal and antiviral. So it has all these amazing like antimicrobial properties. So I'll use it internally for that as well.
Okay, that's awesome. It's funny with calendula because I always forget it has those antimicrobial properties. It's like it's sort of because you could focus just on the granulation tissue that it promotes, and then forget about the other stuff. So, yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I
Um,
love using it for that.
how long would you use it for in a dog like that?
I mean, honestly, calendula is super, super safe. So you could use it for months and it would be fine. But honestly, just until the wounds resolve, if you're using it topically, or until the pet feels better. And then I might adjust their formula or take them off the formula, use something different if they need it.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
that's
It's
great.
also, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I looked into the name calendula, and it was sort of like Latin for flowers every single day. It's because like I do notice that when in my garden, it kind of like you pick it, and literally like the next day there's more flowers, and it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I looked up the name, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds about right.
That's really beautiful. No, I noticed the same thing, and that's something I love about the plant is it's so hardy, like it doesn't need a lot of water either, and it just
Yeah.
is so productive. I mean, there's so many flowers all the time, and then when you pick it, there more grow, and then it blooms. It blooms in like the winter in Napa, like right now is when the calendula starts blooming. So,
That's
and then it
great.
will bloom like all summer long. So we'll get it for a really long time. It's not just the short
Maybe people
season.
live, maybe people live kind of like in a warmer climate. They should just grow calendula like in their garden. Do you think so?
Oh yeah, I would. I mean, it's just the like one of the most useful herbs that you would use all the time, I think.
I love
It's,
that.
so
I
I
put
would.
that in my salve too. I make an infused oil with it.
It's
So,
really nice.
yeah, one of the things in my salve. Great. Well, let's go to number 2 and see. We have a couple people that have joined us.
Perfect.
Um,
Oh, one more
yeah.
thing about calendula, just so I don't forget. I found this really interesting because I had forgotten about this when I was researching for our podcast, is that it actually lowers cholesterol and triglycerides. So really interesting, like fun fact about calendula.
What? You're kidding. Like if used
Yeah.
internally as a
Mm-hmm.
tea or
As a tea, yeah, a tea or a tincture. Yeah. So if you like
yeah,
for a
that is
dog that might have elevated cholesterol and triglycerides, it would be something to think about.
I love that. Man, that's great. And is that through kind of a direct cardiovascular or is that kind of through the liver? Does anyone know why?
You
Or
know what? I actually don't know, but I would
I
be
know.
happy to look into it and
Well, and
I
that's the thing
can,
about herbs. You could spend your entire life studying one herb and you still won't know about it. It's like impossible. But I
it's
wondered if
true.
you
No, I
did.
don't. And that's the thing about herbs too, I think, and you could speak to this, but I think a lot of them have not really been properly researched. And they're just starting to do more research into like the mechanisms of action of how they work and how they do these different things. And there's so many studies coming out about all these herbs all the time. So it's really interesting.
Totally. Yeah, totally. A lot of those studies don't come from America because in America, most of our research is from pharmaceutical companies that want to own something. But if you can grow your medicine in your garden, boy, that would take some of the profit motive out of that research, right? So
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
not to be too
Definitely.
old and cynical, but anyway, yeah, so that's wonderful to know about calendula. And I forgot now what your second herb was. It was like, it wasn't marshmallow. There was something before marshmallow, wasn't there?
Chamomile.
Oh, that's right. And I never use chamomile with pets. And I'm glad we're
Oh,
talking about this because I saw that the ASPCA had chamomile on their toxic list. And I was like, that's
oh,
insane.
interesting.
So I would like to talk about maybe the safety
Yeah.
margin and because I never saw any problems with it. And I also saw ridiculous things on the poison list. And it was like, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
things we're telling people, I do not know. But so yeah, maybe you could
Yeah.
just talk about that too.
Yeah, so, well, and I wonder if it's because of cats, honestly, because I don't use chamomile in cats. So it's they can have nose bleeding. It's called epistaxis, so they can get nosebleeds with
Mm.
chamomile. And so they're very sensitive to chamomile, and so I just don't recommend using it in cats. So I wonder if maybe that's why the ASPCA has it on their toxin list for
That might
kitties.
do it. Sure.
Possibly, but I find it
Yeah.
to be really safe in dogs, and I use it a lot. So yeah, I found it to be in tincture form and teas. I've used it for a long time, and I haven't seen any issues with it. It does have those like blood thinning properties to a mild
Mm.
degree. It has some coumarins in it, which can be a little bit of blood thinners. So you might not want
Mm.
to use it if a dog has a bleeding disorder, or if they're on like blood thinners or aspirin or something like that, it might be contraindicated. But for like a healthy pet that doesn't have bleeding problems, I don't think it would be an issue in a dog.
That makes perfect sense. That all makes perfect sense. So when would you use like a tincture of chamomile versus a tea of chamomile? And like, how would you choose what cases? Are they mostly kind of like GI cases or yeah?
Yeah, so chamomile is this beautiful property of being a nervine, which it's kind of like a calming herb to your mind. So it helps you calm down, it relieves your anxiety, it relieves stress. So I love that
Mm.
about chamomile, as well as it's this amazing herb for the digestive tract. So it helps relieve gas, it's an anti-inflammatory, it helps to soothe the intestines. So I love it for like particularly dogs that get like stress diarrhea or are just like really nervous dogs that have nervous GI upset. It's
Mhm.
amazing for those pets. And so, teas I find to be just like more gentle and mild, and tinctures are a little bit stronger, like more medicinal. Both are
Mm.
great to use, and teas are sometimes just easy for people to use. It maybe if they don't have an herbalist that they're working with who can make a tincture for them. A tea can be really approachable, or if they only have maybe just a little bit of stomach upset with some stress and it's very predictable and the owner kind of knows when that's going to happen, they could start giving chamomile tea like a couple days before and then like a couple days after the stressful event to kind of like get them through. But if it's a more serious GI condition, then maybe you'd want a tincture and you maybe want to do it for a longer period of time or
Do
combine it
you
with
ever
other
meet
herbs.
Do you ever mix the chamomile? Like I was thinking about chamomile with like valerian to make it, I've never used that combination. But I mean, I was just wondering how it would be in combination, or is it so powerful that you don't, really need to have another herb with it?
Yeah, I mix it all the time. So if I'm mixing it into like a digestive formula, I'll mix it with other digestive supportive herbs. If I'm using it as like an anti-anxiety in a formula for that, I'll mix it with other herbs like valerian or kava or ashwagandha or other things like that that might be, more calming to the mind. So it's not so it's a nervine, so it's an anti-anxiety, but it might be nice to mix it with like an adaptogen, which is an herb that helps you cope with chronic stress, and it can be used over a long period of time to help the nervous system and the adrenal glands like readjust to chronic stress. So chamomile doesn't do that, but it's great like in combination with an herb that does that. So I might combine it with an adaptogen or a couple adaptogens.
Hmm. And when you talk about nervines, I was just thinking about this. So in my herbal training, they talked about kind of a nervine it relaxed the nervous system at the same time as it strengthens the nervous system. It's kind of it's not just like a sedative type effect, like you might think of a drug or like acepromazine or something, just like sedates, but it doesn't really sort of allow the nervous system to heal in any way. And if it's a true nervine, I would think it would be doing that. Have you seen evidence of that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think these herbs have like lasting effects, right? Even when we take pets off of them. So I do think that, to your point, that it does help to sort of provide this more lasting effect to the nervous system. And I wondered, I do a lot of work with the microbiome, and I wonder, because there's that gut-brain axis and how the gut affects the brain, and if there's dysbiosis or inflammation in the gut, it can sometimes make pets more anxious. And so I wonder, because chamomile is also a lovely anti-inflammatory, like maybe it is decreasing inflammation in the gut and adjusting the microbiome so that even when you take them off of it, it has this lasting effect on the gut-brain axis too, possibly.
Awesome. Makes me want to have more chamomile. I've gotten away from it lately. I'm like, oh, why? No,
Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
lovely. It's lovely. And so this is super interesting. I was doing some research about chamomile for our podcast, and I found a clinical trial in people where they actually used topical chamomile essential oil for knee
Mhm.
pain. And it was
Oh,
very,
wow.
very effective for people with knee pain. So people don't think about chamomile in this way, but it's actually an anti-inflammatory and a pain reliever. So I will use it in arthritis patients too, like in my arthritis formulas, because a lot of pets with arthritis are painful and upset and stressed and anxious about their
Yeah.
pain. And so not only
Yeah.
does chamomile help relieve the pain, but it helps relieve the stress and kind of calms them down when they're dealing with this discomfort.
And it's kind of a cool thing when you're using the essential oil, because the essential oil is so much different than like the infused oil, right? It's like
Mhm.
hundreds of plants that are concentrated into an oil. And I believe that the essential oil of chamomile is blue, which is kind of
Yeah,
funky. I've never used it before.
German. I know German chamomile is blue. I'm not sure
Oh,
about Roman, but it's
okay.
beautiful. It's beautiful. It's an
Would
amazing
love to
essential
have it
oil.
on my shelf, like, I've got a cool blue oil on my shelf. Ask me about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
amazing.
love I love essential oils. That's cool that you found that study.
Yeah, so and
So,
I haven't used it, actually haven't used it topically in a pet, but I mean it could be. It could be used if a pet has a knee problem or a hip problem. And there's, I'm not going to talk about use of essential oils, but I'm sure you talk about that in other podcasts and things you do.
we
But
haven't
you know,
yet, and I would love to know if people are interested in that, because they are amazing. But no, we haven't yet. We haven't hit. There's so many topics, but I'd love to. So.
well, that's a good one. Yeah, you just want to properly dilute it. So, and with cats, you have to, again, you wouldn't want to use chamomile in cats. So we already
Not
talked about that.
essential oil or not it at all, not even
Yeah,
the
I
tea.
wouldn't at all. I mean, no, not at all. Just with the risk for the nose bleeding and the blood thinning, and then cats groom themselves so much, so I wouldn't even want to have somebody apply it topically. And cats are just
Okay.
more sensitive to oils, any essential oils anyway. But even in dogs, you usually want to dilute it and not. You don't want to apply the oil neat, which means like just put it on there. You want to dilute it in some sort of carrier oil first, and there's different ways you can do that. Different dilutions for like how much the pet weighs. So.
Okay, that's great information. And yeah, I had no idea that it was used for arthritis like that. It was a completely new information.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool
Yeah.
herb.
Do you guys have any questions about that? I see one person in the chat for Camino. And other than that, and she's not asking a question. Come on, you guys. Do you guys use herbs in your pets? Let's see. Just send me a yes and a no. And where you're from. So let's go to number 3. Herb number 3, probably my favorite one.
So this one's marshmallow root, and it's amazing. I love this plant. And you said you did a tutorial on it.
Oh, really? Oh,
Well, that's it. Didn't
cool.
you say you have a tutorial on your website on
Oh,
like harvesting the marshmallow root?
That's such a coincidence. No. Yeah, I do. It's I forgot. I mean, I didn't think of it as a tutorial, but anyway, it's just me with my marshmallow plant, and I'm showing people, like, I'm talking about its uses, and then also I'm digging it up, and like we can actually see the beautiful, white or light roots, and how they look fresh. And I mean, I think that using plants fresh is always preferred. Especially in some cases, it's really important, like cleavers but like marshmallow actually does pretty good dried, and it lasts for a long time too. So yeah, no, you're right. I do have a cute video. I'll try to put a link to it in my description.
Yeah, I think this is such a great plant. And I tried to pick plants too that you use different parts of them because I think that's interesting. So like calendula and chamomile use the flowers, but with marshmallow, you mostly use the root. So like you said, you showed people how to dig it up because you do have to use the root. And there's like a special way you have to harvest it. You don't want to take all the roots, obviously, and kill the plant. So yeah, it's a really cool use of a root, I think. But you can also use the leaves. So just kind of as a side note, I found that if you use the leaves and you like crush them up, mix them with a little bit of hot water, and you make a poultice, and you can apply it topically on abscesses, and it actually helps like draw the infection out and can help to open the abscess, which I thought was really interesting. I haven't used it for that before, but
Never heard. The chickweed has been used for drawing out, all kinds of like splinters and things like that, but I've never heard that about marshmallow leaf. That's cool.
yeah, it's really cool. So you can mix it with chickweed. I mean, it might be something nice to use in combination, and it has that like the marshmallow has a really nice soothing effect to the skin too, but it also can like draw out. So yeah, it'd be a really cool one to use. And it is on my list for cats actually. So calendula is on my list for cats and marshmallow root because they're both really safe for cats as well. And cats get a lot of abscesses. So, if somebody's like waiting to get into the vet or something, it might be, and you have it in your garden, like who knows, it could be a nice thing to use just to kind of like do at home until you can get your kitty in to be seen. So.
And we do have a question, and the question is from Mary, and she says, "Hi, I missed the first part of the live, so I apologize if you've already covered this, but what herbs do you suggest topically or internally for yeast?" Yeast specifically.
Yeah, well, so honestly, I mean, calendula, which we talked about first, is an antifungal. So that might be a really nice one to use. So that would be a good one to try.
On other medications. And then if you look, Mary, on my YouTube channel, I did a whole presentation on Oregon graperoot. And that has a long history of being antifungal. I mean, in our practice, we saw a lot of yeast, but once we cleared up the dampness from the diet and fixed the biome, a lot of times the yeast would go away. But I don't know. Would you have any other thoughts about yeast, Dr. K?
Yeah, I mean, another one that I use, like for yeast in particular, or fungal infections, is Pau d'Arco. I don't use
Mm.
it for a lot of other conditions, but like particularly for fungus, I think of that one.
And Pau d'Arco is a bark from a tree that's grown down in South America, like Brazil and stuff like that. And I use it a lot with cat's claw. So that's cool. Okay, well, we've got marshmallow. So when you use it for the dogs, are you using the powder? Are you using the bark that you've made into a, like, do you do a decoction? How do you kind of do marshmallow? And it's just so great for diarrhea, isn't it? I mean, it's
So
just,
great.
I like it better than slippery elm, and of course, there's less ecological problems with it.
Yeah, and I've really like I try to get away from slippery elm, and I think still a lot of people don't know that slippery elm is oftentimes harvested in a way that kills the tree. So the bark is
Yeah.
just completely stripped from the tree, and then the tree dies. And so, it's just it's a herb that we worry about the long-term survival of it, honestly, with how it's being harvested. So marshmallow is a great alternative, and I really try to use it mostly marshmallow in my practice.
hmm And you're using it as a powder? Are you using it kind of like as a decoction? Like, how would you administer? How would you like ask the client to use it, or would you just like prepare it for them? Or
I use it in so many different ways. Probably my favorite way to use it is in a glycetract. So it doesn't come out into an alcohol tincture like some other herbs would. Like some herbs are extracted well into alcohol and then some are not. And so marshmallow really isn't. It's much better extracted into glycerin, and glycerin is sweet, so it makes this beautiful like sweet, thick, sort of like yummy liquid tincture, and it's called a glycetract or glycerite. And so I use it mostly in that, and I will give it by itself sometimes, it just in, its pure form, or I'll mix it in a formula with other herbs if I'm treating diarrhea or coughing or something like that. So that's probably the most common way I use it, but you can also make an infusion at home. So I made sure to write down a recipe for people so that you know how to make it at home. And if you do it, you want to use like the chopped dried bark. You wouldn't necessarily want to use a powder. I think it would be like too gloopy and sticky and like difficult to strain. So I would actually use the chopped dried root, like it's little pieces of the root versus like the powdered form. If you're going to use the powder, which I do, I'll just like add it directly to the food, but I don't think it works quite as well as if you make a infusion or a tincture out of it. And the reason is like if you're letting it sit with water, it draws it's called mucilage properties out of it. And the mucilage is like it basically turns the liquid like this thick, sort of viscous nature to it, and that's what makes it so soothing to the tissues. So marshmallows, it's call it a demulcent, which means that it's really like soothing and coating to the mucous membranes and all the epithelial tissues. And it's not only in the gut, which is really incredible at marshmallow, is it affects the mucous membranes everywhere. So in the mouth, in the throat, in the lungs, also in the bladder. So I use marshmallow for any inflammation in any of those areas. So if there's like a sore throat, if there's gingivitis, if there's a cough, it's great for coughing, lung problems. It's great for like bladder infections, cystitis, like any inflammation in the bladder, stones it could be used with. It's great for digestive upset, stomach ulcers, reflux, diarrhea, even constipation, which is cool because it like lubricates the intestines. So it has that great property of like, right? Like it helps with diarrhea, but it also helps with constipation. So it's kind of cool. It like regulates the bowels, like however they're affected in the negative way. So I
Sure.
love marshmallow. Sorry, that's a lot of information on marshmallow, but I love this herb.
No, I think that's great. You know, with herbal medicine, we're often criticized, right, by the allopathic folks because they're like, you pick an herb and then you just use it for everything. But it's
Yeah.
like you understand that that herb has an affinity to mucosal surfaces. Then what are the mucosal surfaces of the body? It's not like we're making it up. It's kind of like if you understand where the herb wants to go and how to basically hone it in on exactly what you're trying to do, then it makes sense because something like marshmallow just loves all mucous membranes. It's not gonna it's gonna go where the inflammation is I think greatest.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think it's really interesting too that it's an expectorant. So I was reading about it and it says that it can improve the liquidity. So like
Mm.
the sputum or like the
Mhm.
congestion in the lungs by up to 90%. So it makes it more
Mhm.
liquidy.
I've
It's
never
not
used
so
it for that.
thick.
That's
And so you can
cool.
get it up easier if there's a deep cough or congestion in
Mhm.
the lungs. So not only is it like soothing the throat, but it also can be great for a cough to
Mhm.
like help get those things out, which is cool.
So cool, and I've never used it for that or even heard that it can do that. And that's so cool. And the longer you study this stuff, the more you learn for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, do you want to give us? We don't have any more questions. Come on, folks. I see you out there lurking about, not asking questions.
Well, and let
Let's
me
go.
give the recipe for in case people want to make it at home.
I can
So
actually
you
type that out
use,
as you say it.
you want to
Okay.
type it out. So you use 1 part chopped dried marshmallow root to 3 parts of lukewarm water. And you don't want the water to be hot at all. It just like barely warm. It can even be a little bit cool. Okay. It doesn't
Okay.
extract well
How
in
many
hot
was?
water.
Okay, cool. Can you tell me how much water it was again? One
Oh yeah,
part.
1 part marshmallow to 3 parts water.
Oh, okay,
So
got
that's
it.
like if you want to make like a big batch, you could do like a 1/4 cup of marshmallow root and 3/4 cups of
And are you
water.
doing, you're doing a cold infusion on marshmallow? Are
Yeah,
you?
like cold to lukewarm. You just don't want it to be hot because it won't work as well. The cold infusion helps bring out like the mucilage.
Great. Okay, I
Yeah,
got
and then you
that.
let it sit for 4 hours and then you can strain it.
Okay.
And I
Perfect.
usually, so like typical dosing would be like 1 to 2 mLs twice a day if it was like a cat or a small dog. And if it was a large dog, like a teaspoon 2 to 3 times a day.
Okay, and is it 1 to 2 teaspoons for a small
Oh, one to
pet?
two mLs, sorry. So that would
No, you
be
said
like a
that.
quarter
Oh,
to a half a teaspoon for a cat or a small dog.
there you go. Okay, for a small pet. Twice, 2 to 3 times a day.
I usually use twice a day if it's a cat or a small dog. If it's a bigger dog, you could use it like 3 times a day, a little bit more frequently.
And then for, let's say a giant, like 200-pound dog, how much
Oh,
would
I'd
you use?
probably use like at least a couple teaspoons,
Okay. And would that be once or twice a day?
like 2 to 3 times a day for a giant dog.
Okay, 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, and so like things that I would think about or particularly helpful for like kennel cough or like viral infections where like dogs just have a little cough that they're trying to get over, or if they've had surgery, they can have a cough afterwards from having the tube pulled out. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that it's great for that. So at home it'd be really nice to do that for like a
Wouldn't it
week or
be
so.
nice if all the allopathic friends used a demulcent like this every time they tube an animal?
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be
that's the
amazing.
medicine to go. But we're just, it makes me kind of sad that it's not already there. But hey, that's what if your pets are coughing after a anesthetic procedure, it could be because of the tube in the throat causing inflammation. And a herb like marshmallow could help that a lot. It's great thought, Kim. Yeah. So, marshmallow. And you guys, it's a mallow. Anybody can grow it.
Mhm.
Even me. And I have like no green thumbs. I'm terrible. I kill plants, but I can still grow marshmallow. Um, okay, we don't have any questions about that. What about number 4, herb number 4?
So herb number 4 is Boswellia serrata. People know it as
Oh,
Boswellia. Another name is frankincense. So it's the same thing. So a lot of people don't know that.
yeah, no, that's good. And what are you using boswellia or frankincense for?
So, well, something cool about this herb is that it's a resin from a tree. So we talked about roots, we talked about flowers, but this is a tree resin. So it's like the sap from the tree, which is really cool. And it was one of the 3 things that were given to baby Jesus by the Magi. So it's like a very ancient herb,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
Frankincense, myrrh, and gold.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it has an old ancient history of being sacred.
Yeah, so it's been around for a really long time and used for a really long time. And it's an amazing herb. So typically I use it most for pain. it's a great analgesic, which is a pain reliever. So I use it for a lot of my dog patients that have arthritis. And I honestly will use it as like a first line therapy before I start on a typical NSAID or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. And those would be typical ones like Rimadyl or Metacam or Previcox. I would actually prefer to start Boswellia first, and if the pain is mild, just because that a lot of times will relieve the pain and they can be on something more natural that doesn't have as many side effects.
And I love that you mentioned that as using the herbs as a first line, because people don't realize that like an herb like Boswellia is like way safer than an NSAID for dogs. And sometimes NSAIDs are completely like contraindicated in cats, and you can still maybe come up. I don't know if you use Boswellia with cats. I've never have, but
Yeah, you can.
Can they? Okay. I think doing it, using herbs that way as a first line of defense is kind of like where we need to go, you know, instead of just like, we've tried everything else and the dog has liver disease now and he has all these ulcers and, you know, he still can't walk, you know, or we have to take him off those things. It's like, let's use Boswellia. It's just common sense. Let's use something safer. How are you using it, Dr. Kim? Are you using it in capsules? And then how are you dosing that usually?
Yeah, so I do use it in capsules. So in my notes, all my herbal notes, I have that it's available in tincture form, although I have never used it in tincture form. Have you, Donna?
No, I do have myrrh in tincture form, but I think it doesn't work. And yeah, I just don't think it precipitates. I should say this. Something is precipitating out when I use it. There's a lot of like, and it's an Herbalist Alchemist product, but it does have a lot of like substrate in it. And when I mix it with other herbs, it does it even more. So I stopped using it in tincture form. I just use it, in powder or in, I use myrrh sometimes as an alternative. Maybe it's very similar, I think, in how it works, but so we had that in our anti-inflammatory formula, but I've never used it in tincture form.
Yeah, I mean, neither have I.
Yeah. And maybe that's because the resins don't really go into alcohol very well. Like, are they extracted alcohol? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I would think probably not as well, maybe as some other herbals, right? Just because it's such a thick resin. Yeah, so I usually use the capsules. I like Pure Encapsulations makes a Boswellia serrata just by itself in a capsule. And so that's a typical one that I'll prescribe to my patients. And there was a clinical study done with dogs. And let me look at my notes because I wrote it down so that I wouldn't get confused. It was,
I'll write about this. Number 4.
Yeah,
Put it in.
so it was a study that was done. Did I not write down the date? I think it was 2004, but I don't think I wrote it down in my notes. Anyway, they studied it in dogs that had joint pain and spinal pain. And after about 6 weeks is when they saw the most benefits from these patients. And they dosed it at 40 mg per kg. And in the study, they dosed it once a day, but I usually split that up and divide it and do 20 mg per kg twice a day. So 20 milligrams per kilogram twice a day. So that's how I dose it. The capsules I use are 400 milligram capsules. But it takes a little while to work. And so it's one of those where like when you start it, I think it takes like at least 2 weeks to work. And then like by 4 to 6 weeks, you're usually seeing the full benefits. So that's why it's better for like mild arthritis pain, is because it's just going to take a little while to work. So if they're in severe pain, obviously you might want to use like a medication or maybe like a stronger herbal formula or something like that. But if it's just mild pain, Boswellia would be great. And then over the course of like a month or so, you're going to see the full benefits. But it was really successful in this clinical study. The dogs had less lameness, less pain. Their gait was not as stiff. So, you know, I'm very like evidence-based holistic practitioner, or try to be. So I'm always trying to look up like if there was a study on that and this was successful, like what dose did they use? How long did they use it for? What did they use it for? And then I try to do that in my patients too.
I love that. I love Boswellia. I love that we're just talking about options for NSAIDs.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
can't we live in a world where this is first, you know? What we need, that's the world that hopefully we're heading towards, right? We're gonna make an influence on our allopathic friends.
I hope
But
so.
that's
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, there's so many products that allopathic vets use that are now including Boswellia. So like Dasequin
okay.
Advanced and Cosequin Maximum Strength, they both have Boswellia in them, which I think is
Okay.
really interesting. And there's another product from Vet Classics, which I know a lot of allopathic vets use that has Boswellia. So it's dosed really
But I
low
find
in
out,
those formulas.
I was gonna say the doses are really low a lot of
They
times.
are.
But
They
it's
are.
kind of like, um, uh, Denamirin for, if you're trying to get like Silomirin from Denamirin, for liver disease, it's like, it's like 15 milligrams, but at least it's going in the right direction,
Right?
right?
Yeah, they're putting it in there. So it's a start, right? Yeah, exactly.
We're happy, okay, we're going that way. Oh, that's
Exactly. Yeah.
great. And
But yeah,
it's great
so
that it's good for
oh,
pain. Love that.
really good for pain. Yeah, and some other things that it's good for, it can be really helpful for digestive issues too. But interestingly enough, like I have actually had it cause diarrhea in some of my dog patients. So,
I
and
think
that's because I think we're dosing it pretty high. Have you ever had it cause diarrhea?
Yeah, I've had mostly every herb except for maybe calendula and marshmallow, But for the more kind of hardcore herbs, they will, and it'll usually just lessen up the dose, or you give them a
Yeah,
break for a couple days, get them used to it. I think it's
exactly.
just like diet changes. You don't want to do them too hastily, or otherwise you will get diarrhea. But it's usually just a transient problem.
Yeah,
But it's not like
exactly.
the dog's going to go into liver failure. I mean, have you ever seen
Oh, no.
any big side effects? Okay, so
No, I
awesome.
mean, really, honestly, just some soft stools is what I've seen. And so
Yeah.
I just tell those people to stop it until the stools are normal, and then we start back on like a third or a half dose and just go slow. And then, we find the dose that works well for them. So really
Yeah,
minimal side effects, like the NSAIDs that are used for pain, like liver issues, kidney issues, stomach ulcers, all these things are really serious. Boswellia is really, really gentle compared to that.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I love that. Okay, we're on number 5. We have 15 minutes left and we haven't done cats,
Oh
but
my
we might have
gosh.
to come back and, redo this and we'll do it again. We'll talk just
Well,
about cats.
maybe we can get into like one or two other herbs for cats. I mean,
Okay.
remember it's like calendula and marshmallow are used in cats too in the same way. So we talked about those. So at least we got our cats in a little bit. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, ashwagandha is number 5, and this is such a lovely herb. I won't get like super into it with our time constraints, but it's an
You tell me.
adaptogen.
Okay.
So we
Adaptogen.
talked
Yeah.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
an adaptogen, because people throw that term around a lot, hey, it's an adaptogen, okay. But it means that it inherently must mean that it works on the HPA axis
mhm,
specifically, right? So it's like going into the brain, working on the hypothalamus, pituitary, going to the adrenals. So it's like when someone is correctly using the word adaptogen, they are on the HPA axis. So ashwagandha does that perfectly, doesn't it?
it does. It really
Mhm.
does. Yeah. And it just over time with use, it helps the body cope with stress, which is what an adaptogen does. And it's just a very gentle herb that over time helps you just be able to deal with stress better. I take ashwagandha every day for myself. So
I
it's
did.
a lovely herb. You do too. Yeah. And it's for veterinarians. We live stressful lives. So it's good for us, but it's good for a lot of people.
Yeah. And do you ever use it? So, like, I like ashwagandha too because I think of it as working kind of on the bone marrow level to increase
Hmm.
red blood cells, white blood cells. Like, I feel like it has, like, so we might use it like with chemo patients that there's this sort of depression of their bone marrow. They're not making the same amount of blood or cells. So, I think it has this immune effect. But do you think that too? Or do you use it for that? Or do you only use it for kind of more stress? And I mean, I know you could probably, you use one herb for multiple things, but
Yeah, I love it as a blood builder. So I use it in my patients that have anemia, low red blood cell counts. I'm using it a lot. I just find it very good for like older dogs because a lot of times they'll have a mild anemia and maybe they're stressed and or anxious, having trouble sleeping. It's a great herb to help with sleep. So, and
mm,
it is also a great herb for um, debility or like weakness, muscle weakness. It can help. It's a tonic, so it helps to like strengthen the system and like build the system. Like you were saying, it helps build the blood. It helps build the strength. It helps boost the chi. And it also can relieve pain, which is great for dogs that are old. So, you
I,
know, not it's great. Yeah, they did just a couple years ago. There was a study with ashwagandha root extract in dogs, and it's a double-blind placebo-controlled study, which is like the best one in the Journal of
that's
Veterinary Behavior, which is really cool. And they showed that over, I think it was 4 weeks, that it significantly decreased fear, anxiety, and pain, which I thought was really cool. So I like we don't always think of it as an anodyne or an analgesic to decreasing pain, but it really does. So it's great for that too.
That's so good to know. I wonder if the behaviorists are going to start kind of like using that maybe in combination. Because one thing I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but like if an animal has too much heat, because it is slightly warming,
It's a little warming.
usually
Hmm.
love that because it's a cold dog, or with me, I'm always freezing. But
Yes.
do you think that's like an issue? Would you use it with something cooling if the animal was too sort of like panting all the time, or maybe even Cushing's? I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
if they're really hot, if the dog's running really hot or it's the summer, then I probably wouldn't use it. I'd choose a more cooling herbal blend,
Mm-hmm.
something to clear heat.
But
So
have,
yeah.
I mean, you know how with herbs though, like I've actually never seen it cause heat. Like I know it's
Yeah.
heating, but like on a practical note, I wonder how much dose you need to cause that heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's not like it's a hot herb like ginseng. You know, if you're going to use ginseng as an adaptogen, that would be really hot, especially if it's Korean ginseng. But ashwagandha is much more gentle than that. So, yeah, I mean,
Mm,
like theoretically, you shouldn't, I guess, if they're hot. But like practically, would it be wrong to try it and see how the pet does? No. I mean, like I think you could try it and see how they do, right?
Have you noticed any more water drinking or
Yeah,
panting or anything like that? But and
yeah,
then see.
exactly.
But it definitely, I think, helps appetite. I've seen that quite a
Hmm.
bit. So we've used it a lot with our chemotherapy patients, and for not only for the bone, for the blood building part, but also it just kind of fundamentally, I think, helps with appetite. Um,
Yeah. Well, and something else it does, which is really cool, is it increases thyroid, which is really cool. So dogs that have hypothyroidism, we were talking about like first line therapy versus drugs. Ashwagandha could be tried first before a thyroid medication, and they actually had done a clinical trial with people and it and that were had low thyroid levels, and it normalized their thyroid levels in 8 weeks. So for dogs, I think it would be a great option to try first, maybe even before trying other medications, if the dog's
Especially
like
those
doing
low grade
okay.
ones that are like they're not
Hmm.
even gaining weight. You know, it's like the dog that's like, he's not having any symptoms, but on the blood work, it's like, yeah, well, that means we're kind of treating the blood work, not the patient, but maybe
Exactly.
it's at least safer than putting them on, thyroid medication if
Yeah.
they don't need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's great.
For
Would
sure.
you not use it in cats then that are hyperthyroid?
Yes. So I was going to say that, like, so I probably would be careful about using it in a dog that's on thyroid medication because you'd have to monitor the thyroid carefully to make sure it doesn't get too high. So that would be the thing about dogs. And then, yes, I would not use it in a cat that has a high thyroid level or hyperthyroidism. I would not use it. I wouldn't even use it in a cat that has like a gray zone thyroid, which means
Mhm.
it's kind of like borderline high. I wouldn't even use it in that instance. In a cat, just because cats are so prone to thyroid disease, if I was using ashwagandha in a cat long term, I would want to monitor the thyroid and just make sure it didn't get too high. But they have done a clinical trial in cats with it, so it's used
Mhm.
in cats and it's been studied in cats, and it can be used in cats and it's safe. But that would be like one of the things you would want to watch for.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize to what extent it increases that thyroid function, but when I think I went to David Winston's talk at the AHVMA, and I think he really emphasized that, like,
He
okay,
said,
you don't want to use this with hyperthyroidism. And I know
Yeah, you just have to be careful.
swing back and forth, right? You got hyper, then you have hypo, and then you have a thyroid storm. And I don't think we have that as much in pets. Like it's sort of like we usually pick a thyroid problem and stick
True.
with it.
I think that's true. Yeah, and dogs are just so prone to having a low thyroid, and cats are so prone to having a high thyroid. It's very like
Yeah,
species specific usually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. Well, we got through the five and the dogs. Do you want to see? We've got
Yeah.
seven. Hey, you guys, why aren't you asking questions? I see 17 of you guys, 17 of you guys not asking questions. Okay, you know what? Even in the chat, put like, I have a dog, I have a cat. I'll be like, okay, that's good to know. I mean, I want to know how many cat people are attending this because like we could do all cats. Like I just feel sometimes like cats get left out, but if there's no one in the chat that has a cat, then maybe we're on the right road here doing just mostly dogs. Anyway, what do you think, Dr. Kim? On the cat front, well, go ahead and give us your herbs for
Yeah.
cats.
So, okay, so my top five herbs for cats, and then I think I can get through one of them like that I really love. So calendula and marshmallow root, we talked about those, and you can use them the same way in cats as we would in dogs. Rehmannia is one of my other favorite herbs for cats, and then
That's valid.
valerian and lemon balm. So those are my favorite ones I picked for kitties.
That is such a cool list because those are often forgotten. I love that list. And so, oh, now I'm gonna, you know what? We can go a couple extra minutes. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
of
can.
course. No, I can. I have plenty of time.
Okay, so let's just talk. Maybe we could just do a kind of like touch on these herbs and
Yeah.
why you have them as your top five herbs for cats. Because man, those are some really good. Actually, Rehmannia, lemon balm. What was the other one? I missed the other one.
Valerian.
That's what it was.
Valerian.
Yeah, I'm putting them in the chat for you guys. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and give us a little bit of okay, here to show support. There you go. Do you have a cat or a dog, Mr. Outdoors Man? I don't know. Oh, and Mary says she has a dog. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, let's get started.
Okay, so Rehmannia is amazing for the kidneys, and that's why I love it the most. Cats are very, very prone to kidney disease, especially as they get older. And so Rehmannia can really be supportive to these cats. So pretty much any cat who has kidney disease, I'm putting them on some form of Rehmannia. And I can use it in a Chinese herbal formula. It's very classically used in Chinese medicine. So there's a formula called like Rehmannia 6. If you have a cat that's maybe running a little bit hot, it's a little bit of a cooling formula that has Rehmannia in it. And then there's a formula called Rehmannia 8, has another name, Chinese name, but that's more for cats that are running a little bit cold. It kind of warms them up and has Rehmannia in it. So that's a great use in a Chinese formula, but I will blend it into a tincture form as well. I try to use the cooked or processed root, the Rehmannia, versus the raw. So you can find like a tincture with the raw root, and then you can find a tincture with the processed root. And in Chinese medicine, typically the processed root is used, and so that's usually what I tend to use. The raw root would be used if like you had a dog with like a really high, or a cat with a really high fever or something like that. It's very cold, but the processed root is cooked, so it's a little bit more neutral, and it's better for the kidney issues, I think. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're searching out Rehmannia. Like Herbalist and Alchemist has a processed root form and then a raw form. So I usually use the processed form. So kidneys, it's great. It helps with kidney function. It's also blood nourisher, so it helps with anemia. And a lot of cats with kidney disease are anemic and have low red blood cell counts. So it kind of serves a dual purpose in helping to boost the blood and to help the kidneys function better. In addition, it has a mild laxative effect. So a lot of cats with kidney disease also have mild constipation because they're dehydrated, and so it can help to move the bowels, and it can help with constipation in these cats. So I like threefold. Plus it's an adaptogen, so it helps to cope with chronic stress.
Rehmannia was
So
adapted.
yeah, it's an adaptogen. It's really cool. It's also immunomodulatory, so it helps modulate and normalize the immune function. So if you have like an overactive or underactive immune system, it helps to normalize that, and it's also an anti-inflammatory. So it's a really cool herb. I love this herb for cats.
Yeah, so there you go, you guys that are there. Somebody said, I have 2 cats. Okay, hopefully you know about
Yeah.
processed Romania for your kitty
Yeah.
friend.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And do
Yeah. And
you, how
then,
do you
oh,
use
go
it with
ahead.
Western herbs, or do you, because you mentioned the Chinese herbs, but do you actually make it into your Western formulas? And do you use it in tincture form or just in powder form, or how do you use it usually?
Yeah, I do a lot of times blend it with Western herbs and I use the tincture form, the processed route. So I do that frequently and I'll use other like kidney tonics in my Western herbal formulas or herbs maybe if I need some more herbs for constipation or more blood builders or I'll use more kidney tonics. So I'll kind of blend it in a formula together for those pets too.
And do you think it's safe enough that people could just order it? Because I know the public can order from Herbalist Alchemist. I mean, ideally, the person has a holistic vet and kind of, it's a whole
Yeah.
picture, right? Not just use
I
this
mean,
herb.
Romani it's really safe. Like when I was researching, it doesn't really have a lot of like long-term side effects, so it tends to be a really safe herb, especially if you're getting the processed form. So I think it would be fine. If you're dosing like a single herb, usually you're going to want, and you're using a tincture form. If you're ordering, from Herbalist and Alchemist, you're probably going to be getting like a 1 to 4 tincture, and that's a really gentle tincture. It's not super strong. And I would do like a 0.25 mils a couple times a day, so a quarter ml. So this is a really small amount. But it's an alcohol tincture, so you have to keep in mind that like cats just don't love alcohol tinctures. So you might have to mix it with like churu paste, or you can mix it with tuna juice. You can try to mix it in the food in that way. You can also mix it with like fish paste. There's lots of different ways to get cats to take herbs, but a lot of times I will put it in a formula with other herbs that are tastier, like some glycetrax or valerian, because they like the taste of that, so that they like it better. So you could use it on its own, but it just, the cats may not love it if it's not like mixed with other herbs. Just to kind of, keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's all really good information. One of the things that I never thought of, but Dr. Naomi Bierman, a good friend of mine, did, and so I want to share it with people, is to get herbs into cats, especially tinctures, because we're mostly changing the food from the kibble that they're addicted to, because we don't want to keep dehydrating. We want to change them to a homemade food or to a raw food or something with more moisture, a canned food. But then what she does is she takes 2 or 3 of those kibbles and then she puts the tincture in the kibble for a few hours. And so the cat loves kibble so much that it'll eat the herbs because it doesn't care. It's like it's an addict for the kibble. So then it'll grab it and then it got like 8 drops of, a Romania in it or whatever, and I thought, wow, that's so smart. I never would have thought of that. I just wouldn't have. So, and then a lot of people are worried about alcohol for cats and for dogs too. And I always tell people, well, if you leave it on at room temperature, within 10 minutes, most of the alcohol evaporates off. So, but I have never seen a problem with alcohol. And maybe there is one and I don't see it, but what do you think about that? The safety of the alcohol with these pets?
Yeah, I mean, we're just using like such low doses of these alcohol tinctures. Even in a big dog, if we're using like a teaspoon twice a day, it's a teaspoon twice a day. I mean, it's a really, really low dose. And in cats, we're using like a quarter of an ml, which is like, just a fraction of a teaspoon. So it's really tiny. So yeah, it's same. I have never seen it cause a problem or have any effect on them negatively.
Cool. That's great. And just a reminder that Romani is so safe. Well, you also have valerian root, one of my favorite herbs, and lemon balm on your cat list. And let's go to lemon balm for a second
Okay.
because that should be on all of our cat lists, but we forget about it. How do you
Yeah.
use it? And what are you using it for?
So I love lemon balm, particularly in cats that have herpes virus, which is a
Oh,
really common thing, right? That cats have. It's
yes.
great. And so cats with herpes virus typically are getting eye issues. They can also have like skin lesions,
Weird things with their
squinting, like, yeah, watery eye infections, ulcers sometimes. But then they can get like lesions on their nose or in their mouth or other parts of their body as well. And
eyes.
so lemon balm,
Are
oh,
those
go
usually
ahead.
yellow? Okay.
Young cats, is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But you know what? I had a cat who lived for, she was 19 and she had herpes. It's one of those things, once they get it, it just never goes away. They carry it forever. And so whenever she would get stressed or ill, it would flare up even when she was older. So it was something that, she dealt with kind of throughout her life. But for sure, when she was young, she had it a lot.
And did she get like the eye squinting? Like, how did you know that she was having a flare up?
Yeah, she'd
Like
get
that.
a squinty eye and then it would get watery. And that was the first sign. And then she had some skin lesions too. So she'd get a little skin lesion on her lip sometimes.
Great. Yeah. So are you
Mhm.
growing it fresh for them or how are
Well, so
you?
I have lemon balm actually in my garden, and lemon balm, so it is one of those plants where it can be hard to tincture. You have to tincture the fresh plant, and you just have to know what you're doing. So, it's a volatile plant, so it doesn't always like turn out well, I guess. So, but as a fresh tea, it's amazing. So if you can grow it in your garden, it's in Napa where I live, it grows wild as a weed in my garden. It's crazy. So I have it in my garden. But you can make a tea with it and do a compress like we talked about for calendula. It's also can be made into an eye wash. So you can make a tea to use as an eye wash or an eye compress. And I don't know if you do that, but for herpes lesions, that's amazing for that.
I haven't used it like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
It's so.
it's great. It's really
Mhm.
great for that. And so if you're gonna make an eye wash, you can make a tea just like you normally would, but you can use sterile saline instead of water. And that way it has a little bit of salt in it, so it doesn't sting the eye as much when it goes into the eye, which is kind of a cool trick. So you can boil sterile saline instead of water and then just steep the herb in it, like we talked about, for 15 to 20 minutes. And then you want to strain it through a coffee filter because that gets all the little particulates out so that it's safer for the eye. And then you can use it as an eye wash. And you just want to be like as sterile as you can. You don't want to like be touching it a lot. You could like pull it up in a syringe and like drip it into the eye or use it as a little wash. Or you could do the compress with a cotton ball. That's a nice way to do it too.
Lemon balm topically for herpes. Now we're talking some really cool stuff.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool.
The chat. Do you use it internally for anything other than herpes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's also a great nervine. It helps like to calm them down. And so in herpes, oftentimes it's come about because of a stressful situation. So you could apply it topically, but also give it internally to that same patient to get like a double effect, right? So you're using it, and it's got that antiviral property like systemically when you're giving it internally. So you're going to help the whole body fight the herpes, and you're going to apply it topically. So you get like a double dose. But just for cats that have stress or anxiety, it's also good for the digestive system. It's a carminative because it's in the mint family. So it helps with like gas and digestion. And so it's great for that internally as well. It
And do you,
also is fabulous for hyperthyroidism.
I was
So it
just
can
going to ask
help,
you about
right?
that
Yeah.
time. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it helps lower the thyroid level. So, yeah, you can use it in cats that have like a mildly elevated thyroid. It might be great to use in combination with some other herbs like bugleweed and motherwort and things like that, just as like the nice mild hyperthyroid formula before you put them on thyroid medication. So, could try that too.
Wow. I used it was lithospermum. It was a active part of the lemon balm,
Yeah.
and I used it from restorative formulations, restorative medicine, restorative formulations, and they have something called Thyrocalm. It was
Okay.
the only thing that I saw reverse on a really repetitive basis. They would reverse the hyperthyroid in cats that was severe, like where they lost the weight and you were like, oh, nothing's going to work for this cat. And the people were just like, I don't want to do radiation and chemotherapy, which is that's how we treat that. And I said, well, can you pill them like twice a day? And they're like, yep. So we did that Thyrocalm, and boy, it just takes the active. It makes it. It's a lot more concentrated than
Yeah.
the lithospermic acid is in just the Melissa by itself. I don't know if you've ever heard of that product or if that's something that you've ever done, but
I
anyway, that's
haven't,
what.
but I'm going to use it now, Donna. That's great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is awesome. Like I would use a third to a half a capsule twice a day. And the
Okay.
other thing is that sometimes you use it at a high dose for like a month and then you cut it back to half that dose. And then I had 2 cats completely revert back and not have to keep using it. It was like, because I was just honestly, no one else that I knew was using it. I still don't think people use it for cats, but yeah, it's a great product. So
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for that information.
sure. It's so cool to think about lemon balm for cats because what the thing about lemon balm is, it's that plant you have in your garden, but you're like, oh yeah, well, it's kind of like I think of that way with lady's mantle. I'm like, it's pretty and I have it and I better make sure it doesn't spread and get too crazy. But
Yeah.
to actually use it is what you're supposed to do with a garden plant. And I was
Yeah.
like, why am I just like cursing this thing? But it's such a great medicine.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing plant. The other thing I had for it was that it's good for ringworm topically because it's highly antifungal, antiviral, but you could use it topically and if the cat had like a mild case of ringworm, like a little spot or something, it could be used for that.
What? You're
Hmm.
kidding. So here's the
Yeah.
thing about ringworm. There's nothing that really works. I mean, Western medicine wise, like that I've seen to really stop it. Like it's just your immune system eventually catches up and, eventually your immune system pretty much like will take care of it is the idea. But to actually have something topically that you can use for those ringworms, have you seen it like clear it up really fast? And do you think people should use kind of more of an essential oil? Is there an essential oil of lemon balm? I'm not
So,
even
yeah, so I found this when I was researching it for our podcast. So I have not used it myself for a ringworm patient, but I will be trying it in the future if I
yeah.
have one. I have not personally used the essential oil of lemon balm, so I don't know. Actually, I have a lot of essential oils, but I'm trying to think, and I don't think I have any. It's also called
No,
Melissa,
it
but I
uses
don't think I
lemon balm
have any.
oils, but I think it would be really good. It does have all those volatile
Hmm.
oils. It
I'm
would be
sure yeah, it's hard. Like I was saying, it's volatile. It's like hard to capture. So but I don't know. There might be one, but yeah, I haven't used it.
Boy, there you go. It's just such a great idea. It's a phenomenal idea. And that ringworm is so, when you get it, I mean, I've had it and I was just like, wow. I mean, it
Hmm.
is so itchy and uncomfortable. Like you're just so upset. You're like, okay, I'm going to bring out the steroids and put them
Yeah.
on, anything so I can sleep. But it's neat to
Yeah.
know there's an option to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, very
yeah,
cool
26
option.
people, which is so cool. You guys, I want to get your comments in the chat about the timing because we've been doing these podcasts at around 3. Maybe part of the problem with our numbers is that, like, I notice more and more people now, maybe everybody's at work and they can't join a 3 o'clock podcast. So let me know what you guys think is a good time for a podcast. So you're going to talk to us about valerian root, and I have valerian root stories, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, so valerian is really interesting because cats actually really like the taste of valerian. So it's oftentimes people will put it in tinctures with other things to get the cats to take it because they really enjoy the taste of it for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but it's one of those that they really like. So I like it for cats for that reason, is because there's not a lot of herbs that cats love the flavor of. So you can find one
Yeah.
that they do. It's
We had a
fabulous.
cat once that like we bought the valerian for us and it was in capsules and the cat was like on it like as
Yeah.
if it was like catnip and you're like, what is wrong with this cat and this valerian? I wonder what that is. It's got to be some chemotactic sensory thing with them. I'm not sure if that's
Yeah, I'm not
known.
sure either. I'm not sure if it's known either, but it is really, really cool. Yeah, and it's valerian's lovely. So we've been talking about a lot of nervines today. It's another one. So it helps to calm anxiety, it helps with stress. It's useful for cats maybe that have like an underlying anxiety disorder. Maybe they're older and they have like cognitive dysfunction or early dementia symptoms. Also for cats that have a high thyroid level who are restless, don't sleep well, they're meowing, they're anxious, they can't settle down. It would be great in a formula for those cats as well. So that's kind of what I think of it as. It lowers blood pressure. So it's good for hypertension, and a lot of cats with thyroid disease have high blood pressure, kidney disease, they have high blood pressure. So it'd be a great one as like a first line before they start on like actual medication for hypertension. So that
That's a
would be
great
cool for
idea.
that. In people, it's really used as like traditionally as for back pain. So as
It
well,
is.
think about that. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah, it's
didn't
very
know
traditionally used for
that.
back
That's
pain. Yeah.
good to know. Ooh, I've got some people I could think of for that.
Right? Yeah, well, and
Good.
it calms, it's a spasmolytic too, which means it calms muscle spasms. So it just like relaxes the muscles, it calms spasms, and in that way, and then it calms the mind, helps decrease stress. So I think in that way it can help with back pain too, because it's calming the muscles, soothing the muscles, calming the mind at the same time. But if in these older cats, if we're using it for like early dementia symptoms, anxiety, hyperthyroidism, that usually happens in older cats, and a lot of times they have undiagnosed arthritis and pain. And so for them, it's probably helping to like relieve some of that muscle tension or the pain that they're having as well. So it's really cool for that as well, and it can help with seizures. So it's an anticonvulsant. So that's just kind of like a side note. Also, we use it a lot for cats with interstitial cystitis or fluted, we used to call it, feeling interstitial cystitis, where they have that crazy inflammation in their bladder. It can be great in a formula for that, to just like calm the spasms that the bladder's having, and also to calm the mind so they're not so stressed.
That's great. Those are all excellent tips for people. And it's funny to talk about these herbs because, they're almost not used at all. I mean, what would you say the percentage of these of uses for these botanical medicines in veterinary medicine? Like if you look at the whole country, would it be like
Gosh.
1%?
I think probably or less. I mean, it's so low, right? It's so low. Just people just aren't
And that's
using
why
herbs.
it's just we need to get the word out as much as we can. So if any of you are veterinarians that kind of lurking around the holistic world, joining BBMA, Dr. Kim is the president-elect, and it's such a great group. We have these outings once a year. I think the next one is going to be in Vermont in June that Dr. Hasinger is doing, right? I think. And anyway, we have these outings, and they're called eco tours, and we, go to different places. I know they came to us in 2016, and we were part of the entourage that led that. And so joining BBMA, learning about these herbs, getting all these herbs into pets, it's just so vital that we come up with safer options than what we're doing right now. And, I don't know, do you have anything to add, Dr. Kim, to that? And
Yeah, I would just say, if you are a veterinarian who's listening, who's interested in holistic medicine, definitely join the BBMA. I mean, it's like really inexpensive, and it's just there's amazing
so
people
nice.
who
It's
give
really
advice on that
not
platform.
judgmental.
So
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It's my favorite organization, which is why I joined and became the president-elect, because I love it so much. Yeah, and the eco tours are absolutely amazing. And then if you're a pet parent, just like try to see a holistic vet if you can, if you have one in your area, because they're just a wealth of knowledge and can help so much with integrative care for your pet's condition. And if you don't have one by you, I mean, if you can find somebody who does telemedicine like me, if you're in California, I can see anybody on telemedicine anywhere in California. So, and I'm sure if you live in another state.
How do people find you? How can they reach you? What would be your contact?
Yeah, so my practice is called Napa Valley Holistic Veterinary Services. My website's just napaholisticvet.com, and we have social media at Napa Holistic Vet. So we have Instagram and Facebook. So any of those places, and we have a contact page on our website. You can fill out a form, and it sends it directly to my email. So any of those ways, you can contact me.
That's fantastic, and also so generous. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kim. I want to thank you on behalf of everyone. You've been so amazing, and we're going to have you back again because, it's just, you can tell. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that herb was used for that, or I never knew in the first place. That's fantastic, and that's what these things are all about. So sharing information. So I'll go ahead and stop the podcast, and then if you just want to hang out for a second, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Thank you so much, Donna.
Oh.